live like this. And I literally felt like somebody was sitting on my chest. So I'm like, in my mind, I'm going to either have a stroke or have a heart attack. At 32 years old, I just knew, like, physically in my body, because here's the thing, our body keeps score. So our body knows when things are not right. So I remember just being like, something ain't right. And I laid down, and I literally felt like that I was taking my last breath when I went to bed. And then I woke up the next morning, and that was the stroke. My name is Tamika Thomas, and right now I live in Riverside, but I am originally from Pomona, California. Interesting enough, this is actually my second marriage. He was my second marriage, and I got married really young to my first husband, and we had 3 amazing kids, actually 4 kids. That's a whole nother life after story, because one of our babies is in heaven. But we separated, and that divorce was like, we could probably write a book, because it was like textbook. Like, it was so clean, so nice, so good. But I'm a church girl, and so I was raised like, you can't be out here in these streets, and I'm not for outside, and I know that about me. So I met my second husband. I knew him like all my life, really. He's my best friend's brother, but he's like 5-6 years older. And you know, when you're like 16 and they're whatever, that's weird. But apparently he always had like a thing for me. So my grandfather passed away. He comes to my grandfather's funeral, and there was like this connection. And so I'm like fresh out of my divorce, like 6 months out of my divorce. And I wanted to be out there in them streets, but I'm like, I know I'm not for the streets. So we started dating 6 months after my first divorce, was not healed, was not anything, started dating him. 6 months later, we got married. I thought I knew him. I did not. Like, quickly into the marriage, I realized he was not healthy. He was like not mentally healthy. He was not well. We didn't have any children together, but I had my kids, and I was like, I'm like that mama. Like, I'm very involved in my kid's life, and really started noticing weird things about him. Like, he was very controlling, very possessive. He didn't want me to wear makeup. He didn't want me to talk to other men. I literally had to like walk with my head down, because if I didn't, he thought like, oh, you must know him. Like, in the grocery store, like if a man came down the aisle, you must know him, like you trying to hook up with him. And I was like, started to question myself, like really started to question, like, am I? Like, he would always tell me I have like a Jezebel spirit. And I'm like, what? Mind you, he's a minister in the church. Everyone loves him. Super charismatic, super everything. Gets up on church on Sunday, and my family this, my family that. But as soon as we leave the church, he wasn't talking to us. It was really crazy. So I want to say it was like a beautiful story, but it wasn't. But I was so broken, like still from like childhood stuff. Like, I hadn't even healed from any of that. And being in this marriage with him really uncovered a lot of that stuff. So I did not find refuge like in this marriage that I thought I was going to be like safe from dealing with like crazy men in the world. Because, okay, I chose a man of God, like all this stuff. None of that happened. And quickly into our marriage, I realized I made a wrong choice, but I'm loyal to a fault. And so I'm like, I'm going to rock this thing out until whatever happens. My kids now, my biological children are 24, 22, and 17. I know I don't look like it. No, just kidding. But at the time of the stroke, my babies were 13, 11, and like 6. And they all played football, even my daughter. Like, all of my kids were super active, and all my kids still are very active. I was doing all the things. They're doing football practice. They're doing sports. They're doing like track, everything. And money was tight, like, because he wasn't working. He would quit a job and say God told him to quit. There was like infidelity. There was like all kind of stuff in the marriage. So I'm like trying to be this wife, be a good wife, be a good mother, protect my children, like do all the things. And I remember, I like went on this health journey. So I'm like, I'm gonna lose all this weight because maybe he won't cheat, you know, like all the things that women think, like maybe if I look better, feel better. And so I started going to the gym. I was literally in the best shape of my life. But I was heavy. Like, that's the only way I could explain it. Like, my heart was heavy. My mind was heavy. Like, I never felt like clear or settled. Like, I always felt like just tired. And so my kids had my oldest son, Elijah, he had football practice. We good? Mm-hmm. Okay. My oldest son, Elijah, we had football practice. And I remember coming home and I laid down in my bed. And I told my then husband, I was like, my heart hurts. Like, that's all I could explain. And I was like, I just feel like tired. Like, I feel like I can't do this. Like, I'm tired of fighting. Like, it had gotten physical. Like, there was some physical. And because I'm from Pomona, I wasn't letting him put his hands on me. Like, it was physical. So it was going both ways. And my daughter had witnessed some of it. And I'm like, this is not me. Like, anybody that knows me knows that I'm very like chill. I'm very peaceful. But I had gotten like aggressive and hard. And I just was like, I can't live like this. And I literally felt like somebody was sitting on my chest. So I'm like, in my mind, I'm going to either have a stroke or have a heart attack. At 32 years old, I just knew, like, physically in my body, because here's the thing, our body keeps score. So our body knows when things are not right. So I remember just being like, something ain't right. And I laid down and I literally felt like that I was taking my last breath when I went to bed. And then I woke up the next morning and that was the stroke. It was crazy. Like, I am so grateful that I've healed from a lot of this, but I was constantly being told, like, if I was more like of a wife, more of a woman, like, so he would always tell me, like, well, stop trying to be the man. Stop. Like, there was never any empathy or sympathy. It was always like, oh, like, well, you need to do something. Like, you need to fix this. Stop trying to do this. Stop trying. If you wasn't out here with these football coaches trying to be in their face, like, and then I would be like, maybe, you know, like in my head, maybe I'm really out here doing something that I don't know that I'm doing. And so I just remember I mastered the okay. So I was just like, okay, because I got tired of arguing. So I would just be like, okay. So I remember when I told him, like, my heart is heavy and I cannot keep doing this. And whatever craziness he said, I was just like, okay. And like literally took a deep breath and was like, whatever happens from here. I knew I had to have some fight for my kids, but I honestly felt like I had nothing else to give. I knew I had nothing else to give this marriage. So it was like, okay. I wake up and it's literally like I could still hear the alarm clock in my head, because the alarm clock goes off. I jump up and I go into my daughter's room, and I was like foggy, but I had been feeling like that for weeks. And I fell into her bedroom, and I just remember like her 4-year-old eyes, like the fear in her face. Like, I just remember the fear in her face and the big loud like crash. So my boys run into and I'm like, what's wrong with me? My boys run into the room because their room is like adjacent to hers. And my body was contorted. I was foaming at the mouth and my kids are screaming. But I felt like, you know how like in movies where like everything's muffled, but that you could see the scene? That's literally how I felt. And my daughter is like on the bed, like screaming and jumping and crying. And my oldest son, that's 13, he's like, Mom, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? And I'm like, I'm saying words, I'm saying stuff, but it's not like nothing is making sense. And so they're screaming, mind you, my husband is in the bedroom. So my babies are trying to take care of me. And he's just panicking. And my son tells him, call 911. Like, they're thinking like their mom is dying. You know, they don't know what's going on. He calls the pastor. He calls the pastor. And the pastor's like, call 911. Like, something is wrong with her. Because I was speaking in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm saying like, get me up. But I don't know, whatever words were coming out. And so finally, he calls 911, the ambulance come, and I'm telling my son, so my mind was like, I was saying all this stuff in my head, but it wasn't coming out. So I told my son, give me a paper, give me like a pen. And so I write to him, put me in the shower. So here's my son. He like picks me up. I'm completely paralyzed on one side of my body. But at this time, I didn't know. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I thought, I need a cup of coffee. I need to get in the shower and I'll be okay. Like, I probably haven't woke up all the way, you know? And so, when we walk past the mirror, I see my reflection and I'm like, crap, something is wrong with me. I still didn't know what, but I knew something was wrong with me. So now my baby is like undressing me. My son is undressing me and putting me in the shower. And I'm so grateful for him, and I'm grateful for the relationship we have now. But now I'm like being parented by my child. I don't know where old boy is at. I don't know where he's at, what he's doing, but my kids are like taking care of me. He puts me in the shower, the ambulance come, and I get into the shower and they're like, this is a stroke. So immediately they know. So they're giving me all the stuff. And I write again, I tell my kids, walk to school, because I felt like, I know all of us have two seeds that are fighting inside of us all the time. There's a seed of resiliency, and then there's a seed of like, give up. So I was like, I have to, if I die, my babies have to know they have everything inside of them. I've given them everything, every ounce of strength to keep going. So my sons are like, walk to school. And I'm like, take your sister, I write it down, take your sisters to school and you guys go to school. So they walk to school, I get into the ambulance, and they're doing, like, if you could just imagine all the things, they're poking and priving, and I'm like trying to get my speech back. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm wondering, why can't I talk? I'm 32 years, like, what is this? I'm thinking maybe I'm having an anxiety attack. Like, what is this? I get into the hospital. My ex-husband follows me. I'm completely paralyzed. The hospital gown is falling down because I have no strength in my body. He snatches it up and tells me, see, look at you. You're still trying to show yourself. He thinks that I'm trying to show myself to the people while I'm in the hospital. So I spend the next 2 weeks in the hospital, and they do every test imaginable. And they say that it's a stroke, but they have no, like, they don't understand why it happened. In that moment, that's when I really honed in on my journaling practice, because that's all I could do. I literally, it's so amazing because I speak for a living. Like, I'm a speaker, but I had no ability to speak. I could just write. And so I would write, and I would like question God and say, like, whatever happens in this moment, I don't care what I look like. I've always been cute my whole life. So if that goes away, I don't care. I just want to be able to be there for my children and be there for other people. There has to be more in me. There has to be more that I'm supposed to do in this world. So don't let me go out like this. So when I was released from the hospital, I realized I got to get out of this. I have to get out this marriage, because this only thing that caused this stroke was stress. Like, the stress of trying to be perfect, the stress of pretending, the stress of always trying to prepare to be all of those things. Like, it literally, our grandmothers, our aunts, they would tell you, girl, stress will kill you. I'm living witness that the stress literally tried to kill me. So I started to prepare to exit the relationship when I was removed. I was able to get out of the hospital. Yeah, you know, it's amazing. I believe that like nothing is coincidence. And weeks prior to me even having the stroke and going through all this stuff, I used to be like a big like Oprah head. Like I would try to get home from work and watch Oprah. And there was an episode of this lady that wrote this book titled The Gift of Fear. And basically this book is about people that are being abducted or they're in abusive relationships and ways for them to get out. And the lady was basically saying like, never let them take you to the second location, look people in their eyes, like you have to become like there's like all this great information. So I read that not knowing that God was preparing me for my escape and to get out of this relationship. So when I got out the hospital, and here, the thing about being in an abusive relationship, he really isolated me. So I didn't have a lot of friends. I was kind of like just me, him and the kids. And so, but I had my work family. So my work family, they all like bought casseroles, like, you know, did all the things. And so I got really close to them. I started connecting with them. In that book, it talks about having like a bag in your car, in your trunk, and just, you know, tell your partner or tell whoever, this is just for emergency situations. Another amazing, crazy, this is so crazy. Like even as I'm talking about it, I'm thinking about all the things. That summer in Moreno Valley, we had a crazy winter and we had like, big rainfall, all this stuff. So we were like kind of scared. Like we hadn't experienced that in California. So I used that. I'm like, we had this big thing. I need to have this bag in the car for me and my kids just in case. So I put like blankets, I put all that stuff in the car. I gathered all of our like important documents, had all that like where I could grab and go. And then I became really nice to him. Like I didn't argue about anything. I was cooking all his favorite meals. I just was like, yes, honey. Like I was putting it on thick, like anything he wanted. And then he kind of like left me alone because I think he was like attracted to the dysfunction and to the fighting. And then I was like, you know, because of the stroke and that's my daughter. I'm like, she's really scared. And because she witnessed everything, I'm asleep in her room. So I like slowly just started moving everything. And he was okay with it because he was out doing God knows what with whoever. And so I was sleeping in her room. And then finally one day I was like, I cannot do this anymore. I packed up the house when he was at work. I had everything we needed. Here's the thing in life, there's so much stuff that we want, but there's only a few things that we need. And so I gathered just the things that me and my kids need. And I left with literally whatever we had in that trunk. And that's it. I left a house full of furniture. I left refrigerators. I left it all. And I was out of there. Again, like God, one thing about me, God gonna spin a block for me, okay? And so I was in contact with this lady and she had a duplex. Mind you, I'm leaving like a 4-bedroom, big house. I didn't care about any of that. So I'm in contact with this lady. Back in the day, they used to have not yellow pages, but it was like this little mailer that they sent into the mail, right? And so I was like in that mailer, like looking for places. And I called this lady and she was like, it's a 2-bedroom duplex. It's $900 a month. I won't even charge you a deposit. I was out of there. I'm the oldest of 10. I have 5 sisters and 5 brothers. And I never told my brothers and sisters about anything because I'm big on that. Like people not going to be in my, you know, marital business or whatever. But I finally broke the silence. I told my dad, I told my brothers. And so I was like, he's going to come. And my dad was like, I wish he would. I wish he would. So he would call, and then he finally filed for divorce. And he said that it was, adultery? Yeah, he said that I was cheating because I was cheating with my eyes. He said I cheated with my eyes. And so it was like the best thing that could have ever happened to me in that marriage. So that marriage only lasted 2 years, but it was the most horrible 2 years of my life. So like I said, in the hospital, I started journaling. So I would literally every morning, I would get up and I would just journal. I would write 3 things that I was grateful for. So me and my kids are in this 2-bedroom duplex. Me and my daughter are sleeping in a twin bed. Like most people would be like, I hate my life. And I would be like, I love this little patio. I'm grateful for this patio. I'm grateful for the dumpster right outside my, I'm grateful for, I would be grateful for every little thing. So I started like self-care. What people think self-care is like going on the trip, doing the thing. No, I started like really taking care of me. Mind you, I got married at 18 and now I'm 32. So I spent all my adult life in relationships. So I'm like, what do I even like? What type of guy do I like? What kind of soap do I like to buy? Like these things I never knew because I was always married. So I started like, no, actually I do like Dove. I don't care how much it costs. Like that's what I like, I don't like eating that. I always ate that because that's what they like to eat, And so I really got intentional about getting to know me and then also healing my babies because although I guarded them from a lot of stuff, they still saw a different mom than who I think that they deserved. So we started like going on beach trip, like little things that didn't cost no money, Lake Paris was our friend. We would be at that lake and, at the beach and all those things, just really enjoying life. And then I learned how to, like listen to my body, like what I want, because the stroke was so scary. I'm like, how could I have prevented this? So what the doctors end up saying is I had a migraine and my brain just completely shut off because it couldn't handle like all the pressure, so people that are like constantly getting migraines, because I would get migraines all the time, and they said my brain couldn't handle it anymore. So my brain just shut off, and that's what caused the stroke. So I started listening, like, you have a headache? What do you need? Like, what do you need? Right? And I started this practice that that's probably foreign to a lot of people, but I started reparenting myself because I realized the only reason why I even attracted him is because there was stuff from my childhood that I need to heal from. There was stuff from way before him that I needed to deal with. So I started really loving on little Tamika. I really got intentional about what I want, what I need, how do I feel seen? How do I feel loved? How do I feel? And so that's what I spent the next 6 years single, little mingling. I was mingling, but I was like so happy in that little 2-bedroom apartment. Got my boys through high school, got my daughter to I think when we finally moved out of there, she was like 14, 15, I don't know how old she was, but really got them through life. They got to know me, they got to know a version of me that they never knew because the stress, but all they knew was the hurry up, stop, scream. I wrote vows to myself and to my children. So I wrote out, I still have it, and I have it put out in my current house. But the vow is that I'll laugh more than I'll scream. I'll play more than all these things. I just promised my babies they never have seen it, but I wrote it out to them. And then I wrote vows to myself of how I wanted my life to look. I went through therapy because I realized we can't heal what we hide. So often we are trying to heal places, but we're hiding behind the church, right? That was big for me. I would hide because I could fast, baby. I could pray, baby. I could do all of those things, but God needed me to go deeper, and he needed me to really get to the root of why I continue to attract the type of people I did, and why I would have superwoman syndrome and feel like I got to do all the things, or, not enough syndrome or whatever. So I went through intense therapy, and then I hired a coach, because healing work, a lot of people don't know the difference between therapy and coaching, right? So therapy is really inner healing and all that, but coaching is growth work. So I needed to learn how to heal and grow at the same time. And so I did both of those things, and really led me to where I am today. Yeah, so now I am an inner healing coach, and I help women heal. I walk women through becoming her, which for me, her stands for healed, elevated, and restored. So I really walk them through that process because I know it, right? I say that I turn my trials into treasures. So I have this imaginary treasure box of all the things, and I'm not saying I've been through everything, but I know what it feels like to bury a child. I know what it feels like to be in an abusive relationship. I know what it feels like to battle low self-esteem and all those things. So I used all of those things because I believe that we have two options in life. They can be our crutches that keep us stuck, or they could be our stairs to take us to the next level. And I've chosen to turn my trials into treasures and help other women do the same. And so like the best part is after I took like really a 6-year sabbatical, and I had some counterfeits, right? I had some cubic zirconiums come in and I was like, oh, he the one. And no, that ain't it. But after that, I met my amazing husband, Paul, and he slid into my DMs, and I vetted him well, was like, what you want, you know what I mean? And like now we have a blended family of 8. So we have 8 babies. It's amazing. Like my love life is amazing. It's literally a fairy tale. Like he's everything that I've ever prayed for, everything that I've ever wanted in a man. He always tells people that he sees, because there's a lot of folks that say you have to be whole. And he's like, I see those scars. And he like is able to be like the salve and the glue and all that stuff to keep me together. And so we have like this beautiful marriage. That little 4-bedroom house that we was living in, got upgraded. We just got a beautiful 5-bedroom home. It's just, there's like, I can't even, I'm really living my prayers, like everything that I put in my journal, because one of the things I started doing is I started journaling Dear Future Husband. So probably once I was after like 3 years after that marriage, I started thinking about marriage again, because I was like, I ain't never getting married again. I'm never going through this. And then I started like feeling like, no, you were created to be a wife. And so I started journaling like Dear Future Husband. And I would say things that Paul is without me even knowing who he is or who he was. And so yeah, like we're living my journal. Like we are living my journal, and it is amazing. And we get to like coach together. It's like we just started this year coaching other couples. We get to speak together. We get to make love together. Listen, all the things. We do all the things. And it's like that, the stroke that happened, and he has an amazing life after story too. And I do believe that God put us together to heal one another. Our like life statement and marriage statement is we love each other as if we've never been hurt. So it is amazing how we love each other. So I wanted to share my life after story because I know like bits and pieces of it, people will resonate. I know that people will look at this and say, wow, if she's healed, because I believe that God like healed me to the point that if I didn't say I had a stroke, people would not believe it. Like literally, I know no matter what people are going through, God can heal them as if it never happened. And so that's why I wanted to share. I wanted to give people hope that there's life after pain. There's life after dysfunction. There's life after physical ailment. You just have to be willing to do the work, and God will do the rest.
Any last words you have for us?
No, I just want to really thank you all for putting this on, because you have no idea like what it's going to do, for not only for you guys, but for your children, for the women that you don't even know who they are. Like this is not even about us. This is about the next generation. This is about people that may never have the capacity to say thank you, but the way that it will heal and deliver. So I want to thank you guys for even opening up this space.
Thank you. This is why I made you a bot. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart. Because I know you were here way longer than you needed to be, but you were patient.
Yeah.
Just as like
in the 6 hours later.
You.